Network. ZNS Network. ZNS Network. Bahamas.
The views expressed on this show, interview, or program are not necessarily the views expressed by the ZNS Radio Network and by extension, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas. What's the secret of change? We don't fight the old. Instead, we focus on building the new. Welcome to the table of change. Come on in and have a seat at our table.
It's another night and I am very, very excited. It's Table of Change. Come on, let's do this tonight. Pull up a chair. Lean in. Let's talk real change at the table. Tomorrow we are at the table tonight.
Oh, I'm excited, Jackie. I feel it. You feeling it, Jackie?
I feel it.
We have on the show tonight, guys. He's not a guest anymore. He's family. You know, he's one of them first cousins on the show tonight. We can't call him a guest anymore. I don't know if you guys are going to remember, but on Table of Change, we've had him on at least twice now. The first time, his name is Kendall Lewis. He was on with Kristen from UB. And we got a good perspective talking about males, the young male versus the mature male. And we just got, good answers back and forth and great conversation. And then you guys demanded it. You wanted it. So we had him come on again with his wife. And he did such a fabulous job. We heard that cry, right, Jackie? And they said, bring him on again.
Again.
But let me just remind you a little bit about who Kendall Lewis Jr. is. He was born in the beautiful island of New Providence. His parents are Elizabeth and Kendall Sr. He is the middle child of 5 siblings. I think that's why he's so patient. He graduated from L.W. Young. He's pursuing a bachelor's degree in psychology. Kendall is married to the beautiful Claudette McKenzie Lewis and is a proud father of 4 beautiful children. Kendall, I could talk about all those good things about Kendall, but the Kendall I know off of paper, you guys, what I think you're going to enjoy is Kendall is a mature man with sound advice coming from an avenue of just pure improvement. And when Jackie and I said, okay, you guys want Kendall back, but what are we going to give you? What are we going to talk about? Kendall, tell us what you said we are going to talk about tonight.
Tell the Truth Tuesday.
Wow.
Say it again for me.
Tell the Truth Tuesday. That's what today is. It's Tell the Truth Tuesday. And
now, that might mean so much stuff. Break that down for me. Tell the Truth Tuesday.
Well, transparency is the first word that comes to mind. And transparency also means to be vulnerable. To be vulnerable in, can I let my guard down and telling the truth? Can I tell the truth even though, because the truth may not be, I would say, that much accepted, because it has to have some twists and some turns, or as me and Jackie spoke, it is the truth and then it is your version or their version of the truth. But when truth comes, that truth is the difference between looking in the mirror and then literally having an X-ray exam. So their version of the truth is looking in the mirror, as Michael Jackson says. But then the truth is literally the honest to God's truth about myself, yourself, or any situation and the changes that needs to be made. It is literally like an X-ray.
Tonight, remember, Bahamas, we want to remind you of these phone numbers because we really want you to call in because it's for all of us tonight. The numbers are 325-5403, 5404, or 5405. Family Islands, you know you got my heart. I always say it, and I'm not going to change it. 300-8255. You can also WhatsApp on 357-9417. I'll say that again. You can also WhatsApp us any questions that you have on 357-9417. Just wanted to make sure you get that number. 357, you writing that down? 9417. There you go. Okay, what Mr. Lewis, what about you? What was the moment when you realized that you needed a change?
If we're going to talk about the truth, we're going to talk about how wayward my life was, how wayward I was, how wayward I made my life appear. And to tell the truth, being at that time a son, a father, a husband, a person, I did not like that version of myself. And that version of myself I did not like, because as a man I had my children looking up to me, and what type of role model I would have been to them. And I found it quite strange that it was difficult, even as myself, that I had to look for a role model outside of my immediate family, outside of even, I would say the Bahamas, until I got to understand who I wanted to identify myself with. And the change I had to make in me, meaning the way I carried myself, the way even the people I associate with, the places I used to go, all of these things, and even the type of father I wanted to be, the type of husband I wanted to be, all of these things. And so I started to study leadership. And leadership brought me to that place of the late Dr. Miles Monroe. And he always said that one of our biggest problems is mentorship. And if we don't have mentorship, we would not know how the next person would be. It's almost like a succession plan. And so I looked at myself and I said, wow, I said, who would follow me? I wouldn't even follow me based on that point. And see, I had to be real with myself. I was not doing the things that I could or should have been doing as a man, you were doing some external things as a husband, as a father, but then there were some internal things that was still not at that level that would have qualified me as a change man, a leader that I would have looked up to, that I would have wanted. And so the more I started to study leadership, I had to come to a place on changing my life. And that was rededicating my life back to the Lord. And many persons will be like, yeah, listen, that was my decision. And I had my ups and downs. I made my mistakes. I made my journeys, even to the point where I tell God, I can't do this no more. Because it's like, once you start to make this change, and this change started to come, it was as growing pain. And the Lord taught me growing pain this way about how I had to change. He said, you're feeling the pain because you're the one that is growing. Because I had to then put up, or I would say be in an atmosphere, in a place where I started to look at persons that were older than I am and thinking that they should have lead, persons that would have had, and this is me being politically correct, I had to debunk a whole lot of things. It's not because of your age, your title, your position, or what you have that makes you a role model or someone to model after. And if you can see within our society today, the persons that persons model after are not specifically good role models. And I want to be honest with that. In our 21/7, in Nassau by itself, not in the Bahamas. You have different fragments of what we call, and I want to be politically correct again as I use these terminologies, it's just in studying. It's a big difference between a male and a man. A male carries the silhouette of what, or I would say the shadow, a silhouette of an image. But the man embodies everything of that image. Let me say that again. God said in Genesis, let us make man in our image and in our likeness. So if you look at an image, you're looking at the reflection of something or someone, meaning the shadow of someone. And I realized that I wasn't even the image or the shadow of anyone. I understand why when children would run from their shadows and try to get away from it, because some children are literally scared of their shadows as an image. I was scared of who I was.
Right.
And so that had me down a journey and a path. And I'm not saying, like Paul, that I have yet apprehended all, because I'm digging deeper into who I am. And the more you dig deep into who you are, your change starts to forge and to evolve. Company, friends. Sometimes you may not want to get rid of these things, but these things will let you go as you grow.
That's great. What I want to do right here, I know for people who are just tuning in, I want to remind you of the topic, what made you a better you? And let's tell the truth tonight. So that is the question, Tamara. I know you have something to say about that.
Jackie, you want me to tell the whole truth?
No, nothing but the truth.
Oh, wow. You know, some people call it a midlife crisis when you get to a certain stage in your life. Or I don't like to say age. I like to say a certain stage. But if I tell the truth, I got to a point in my life where I was, the left foot in the world and the right foot in the church. And it was causing such a contradiction and so much turmoil amongst myself that I had to now look in the mirror and tell the truth, and tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And when I sought out the truth, Jackie, I realized, there's some things I got to change. Mm-hmm. There's some things I got to change in my household, for my children. There's some things I have to change in my marriage. And I said to myself, would I want to come home to me? Wow. When I think about how frustrated I was from work, just from life and the turmoils of life and not focusing on the higher power, I became so frustrated and so miserable. And I said, would I want to come home to me? And I just took a minute to say, no. Maybe if I was the children, I wouldn't want to come home to me. Maybe they might think mommy's miserable all the time and mommy's always upset and we have to be quiet not to upset mommy. Then I thought to myself, is that the person my husband wants to come home to? Is that the person I want to be? And then I realized, you know what? I can't do it for other people. I got to do it for me. Yeah. So I told the truth to myself and I just turned things around 360. And made some decisions, got into my Bible, changed my approach, and changed the impression that I want to leave within my household. So that's my tell the truth, Jackie.
And Tamara, I just want to remind everyone that, yes, Table of Change is about service, but we want to remind the listener that service is not only in the workplace, service is in the home, service is almost wherever you are in the church. And for me, Tamara, I'm reminded that my change came out of pain. And sometimes other people's pain comes out of failure. There are others' pain comes out of fate, maybe a mentor, even a second chance. I could remember, and this brings it back to service on the job. Some jobs is not so easy. At least that's what you would think when you're in it. We always think like, the supervisor is mean to me. They're not giving me what I deserve. And I went through all of that, thinking that it's always the other person. It's always them. But you know what I learned? It was really not for them. It was really for me. The pain that I went through was for me to grow. And it happened on the job that I was on. And right now, I welcome it. I'm so grateful for it. I remember the times tomorrow when you're in the corner. You're actually in the corner because you don't want the supervisor to see you crying because of the treatment that you get. You have persons who are in the back of you, the supervisor who's in the back of you, who's trying the hardest not to let you accomplish to go to the next level. But you know what makes you feel so good in the end? When that same person can come to you and say, Jackie, I'm really sorry. I listened to people and I really didn't get to know you. I'm sorry about what happened. But that's what made me a better Jackie. And so I realized that, listen, no one can hurt you unless you allow it. And the mountain, if it's smooth, you're never going to get up. You need some rough side. So guys, I want you to, let's get involved. Let's tell the truth, because your way of changing might help someone else tonight. So let's just go ahead and do it.
And I love what you said, because, and even though it's about service, how many times we focus on us changing us to serve others, and we're miserable with the change that we made. And then when we realize that I have to reverse that change, and the change that, or the person that you now become, it's no longer you working to serve them, but you've done the work to serve yourself. Mm-hmm. And then that's a change where some people really do not like. Some persons like when they can use your pain tomorrow, Jackie, when they could use your pain for their benefit. But then when you, as you say, when you take back that power and you now use that pain as a woman, you come to, and you said, okay, this is the final trimester. I ain't going through this no more. This is the now time when you push and something better is birthed out of you in and through that pain. Mm-hmm. And we all have to come to that place in life, because even though there's no area in the Bahamas, no industry in the Bahamas that does not incorporate service, not one. Every industry we have deals with service.
Right.
Every industry. And so is it then fair to say that once you change the very industry that you're in? Because your perception, your perspective, and the way you handle yourself and the way you handle persons then change. Mm-hmm. Because you now give you. And when we talk about service, you talk about servant leaders, right? There are many different leaders, forms of leaders, laissez-faire leaders you have, charismatic leaders you have. And all of these are attached to service. You could say in your state in life before you change, you was a laissez-faire leader. You were serving self from a laissez-faire perspective because you allowed anything to happen. Anything. And so as you took that point, many persons just gave to you and you just felt you just had to take it because you were also at that place on pleasing others. And in pleasing others, you cried in your corner. Others are being, like you said, you being stepped on, you being overlooked, all because you didn't come into that place of completeness and where you should be. And that is what, if you look at it today, that's what our society is going through. Mm-hmm. And it's going through a place where we're still trying to find ourselves. We're at a critical state of identity crisis.
We have someone on Zoom, that DeAndre Moxie.
Good night. My question is, as a young person trying to be the best leader they can, what's your advice on being able to pivot after something very important doesn't go your way?
Pivot. I love that word. And then something important didn't go your way. Are we bringing this from a perspective of being disappointed? Or are we bringing this from the perspective where you felt that it didn't go your way, meaning nothing else is going to work out for you? Because there are many different ways how we can view this. And sometimes, could I tell you, even as Jackie indicated, we have not been able to use our pain as a weapon. Pain has been weaponized against us. And I was looking on Facebook one day, and I came across something from Sebastian, and he said something about pain. He said, it isn't until we learn, and I want to paraphrase this if I say it wrong or put in my own emphasis, so I do humbly apologize, but it was so good. He said, we would be better when we learn to literally use our pain for us than against us. That means you have to be able to mobilize disappointment, rejection, and shame. And even as you would say, if something didn't go your way, the expectation of that crashing down on you shouldn't disappoint you. But I want you to take it from this perspective, that it brings you to a place of humility. It brings you to a place that you can still grow. It shapes you sometimes, because sometimes when we get our instant reward right away, the position you can have, the character to keep the position, you may not be able to attain right there. I'm not saying that you don't have that character, but there's always lessons in our pain that, as Jackie indicated, she had to look, and she said it was more, I get to realize that even in the pain, it was more for you. What is that disappointment moment? If you were to take a time to reflect, how is it help you to grow? What did it help you to see? And what changes did it cause you to make? With you, not with the person or with the situation, but with yourself.
Did that answer your question, DeAndre?
Most definitely, most definitely.
Thank you so much, sir.
Tamara, I know you want to add to that. Well, maybe she's okay. So, as we were talking about change.
Jackie, I got you. I got you. I was still thinking. I was still trying to formulate it together.
Go ahead.
You know what? I'm thinking, Jackie, sometimes, we come through the experience and we come through it on the other side. But when you hear the story, we make it sound quick. We make it sound easy. But Jackie, how long were you going through that turmoil and that period?
Listen, it's just so many stories, and it was for a very, very, very long time. Let's say I went through it about 5 years. It was a very long time, and so I really had to stay focused. And there were times when, and this is how Table of Change came about. And you have to realize that when something great happened, you need to look back and see where it came from. Because there were times when I worked at this particular place where I loved so much, because even though it was really hard for me, it actually made me. There were times when, Tamara, the customers were my only friends. Like I needed them to come because they brought the excitement. And that was why I was so eager to serve. And then so when I have the bad ones and the good ones, it's just as good. When the persons come in and they're at the door and they have this bag of coins, nobody wants to serve them. But it was a pleasure because they were the ones that kept a smile on my face to go through the day. And so, Tamara, that's how I did. I know there were times even when, and there would be supervisors that you go to them for something and they want to pass you on to someone else. And there was a particular time when, and she's still my good boss at this place that I work on one of the family islands. And she said, you are not going to make it with your attitude. And I actually jumped because the fact of the matter is that everybody thought her attitude was bad. And you know what? I actually said, I say that now and I still frighten myself because I actually said, you think I am not going to make it? And you made it almost to the top with your attitude? Oh my goodness.
Oh, you did. No, you didn't, Jackie.
I just knew, okay, this is it. This is your last day here. This is it. And so I went out and I got one of the other supervisors and I said, oh goodness, I just did something. I just said something. And I said, it's not really what I said that bothers me.
How you said it.
It's how I said it and I'm showing them and I'm all the expression and I'm saying, so I'm gone. I would not take back what I said because I really meant that. But how I said it, I think I might be in trouble. I will apologize for that. But
for those of you that are listening via radio and do not know Jackie speaks with every facial expression, eyes, hand movement, body. She is visual and she is candid and what she was saying. So for her to say that, I can imagine that you can't take it back. But Kendall, I just want to remind people who's going through something on a job or in life on this Tell the Truth Tuesday that sometimes it lasts 6 months. Sometimes it lasts a year until you make it to the other side.
That's true, but I was waiting to hear the rest of Jackie's story and for Jackie to say, okay, tell me Jackie, what was the result of that outcome?
The auditors came in. I kept my job. But I would not change it for the world.
What was her expression or her response to you? If she gave you one, what was it?
I think even after it all, we still respect each other. I can see her today, and we would still have conversation about our children. We would still hug each other. This particular place is really, it really helped to it made me. And so all of the bad things that happened,
right, it
was actually for me. Because look, Table of Change came out of it. It was actually for me. And so that's what we have to learn. It's hardly ever for the other person. It's for you. You just have to look at it in the right way.
There's a word you said. If I may tomorrow, please. I mean to sound like the host. You use a word and you said that the auditors come in. Correct?
The auditors came in.
And just tell the truth. How often do we take an audit on our own life and our own attitude, our own behavior, our own habits, and then realize that the greatest company you run is your life, and you crash in your own company based on these external things that some people will just let you bypass, and then others will just tell you the naked truth and tell you, Kendall, your bad attitude. And because I may be the boss or the supervisor, I allow my title and position to override my humanity, to hear, even if the employee from the janitress, the yardman, the security officer, or the janitress is telling me that there's something wrong with me. How often do we take an audit of ourselves?
Well, we're going to do it on this Tell the Truth Tuesday. We audit yourself, see where you are, find out if that's where you want to be, because there's always time to change. Tomorrow, there's always time to change.
I'm thinking about that audit. That left a powerful impression on me right now, Ken. I think you need to say that again. Say that again for the ones inside the back row in terms of auditing ourselves.
When she talked about audit and she said the audit came in, there's a book and I got that came back to me by the Spirit of God, because I have a book home and it's called The Audit Trail. And the audit trail is normally when persons do a forensic audit of some things that most persons would not see. And that forensic audit goes deep. I mean, they do a trail, like you say. You have to look back. Mm-hmm. They trace back from the money and they make the connecting dots to find out where it is. And if you take a look at your life and really audit my attitude, my ways, my tone, my spending, my habits, all of these things, right? Mm-hmm. And then you say at the end of the day, I'm the cause for this. I'm the reason for that. This is just you telling the truth. Because offense comes when we are not ready to accept the truth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's when we become offended. When someone tell you the truth, based on how you see or view that individual, you are most grievously offended because they tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. But when you could humble yourself and realize that you took a reflection or an audit and say, this really is me. As you said tomorrow, you said, I wouldn't even want it to come home to myself. If I was my children, what I would have wanted to come home to me. Before I rededicated my life to the Lord, I said, boy, if I had a chance to date me, I wasn't dating me. It had nothing to do with the external things. It had to do with some habits and some ways. I was not always the person that I was today. And so that audit took me deep. And that's the reason why when I sought a life coach, even after me rededicating my life to the Lord, because I wanted someone to be transparent with me, that if I talk to them, they could say, okay, this, give me an honest assessment on who I am, just to be transparent. And some persons, we don't have that accountability. Do you have a husband, a wife, a child, or a friend, someone that can be accountable to you, that could tell you the truth? And you don't get angry, you don't get mad, you don't get upset. You accept it because this is the reason you have them around. These are the ones that's coming in and giving you an audit on your behavior, an audit on your life. And through all of that, that's how Mr. Cultivator came about. Because the Lord said to me, he said, look at the word cultivator. And to cultivate, you have to dig up. You literally have to go in and dig up. And when you dig that up, there are some old things that are there that is not needed for the new foundation. Matter of fact, it's even taking up space for where the new foundation is to be laid. And the pain and the hurt, because as you dig up, it's going to bring back some memories, it's going to bring up some scars, it's going to bring up some pain. And so that is, in the cultivation, you're also going to do an audit on the reason why you may be the way you are. Mm-hmm. And that right there, if other persons will learn to do that reflection at least 15 minutes a day, even at the end of the day, and say, could I have answered this different? Could I have done this different? Or where did I do wrong? Or even if there's an argument or a conflict, you could say, how did I fuel this? Where did I go wrong that the response for this was like this, or anything else? It's not that you're looking for someone to validate you, but when you can give an account for yourself and be responsible, that's maturity.
Yep, it is. And so, I'm just thinking about the whole journey of my life, because I've been around for a while. and I'm saying my experience and my hardship, it really, really paid back. It gave me patience. It taught me how to listen before I speak. That is so important.
Come on, say that again, man.
When customers come to you, listen to what they have to say. I just experienced the other day, this lady went to an institution just trying to get some paperwork done, get something done. Because they did not listen to what she was there for, she keeps saying it. She went back and forth, back for her passport, go back to the place, now go back and get your husband's passport, come back to the place. So you have to fill out this form. And in the end, that was not needed, simply because they did not listen to her.
So are you saying that listening
It's a powerful tool
It's a powerful tool, not only to customer service, but to yourself.
to yourself.
Do we listen to the inner voice that is in us that say, you should have done that different? You could have done this different. No, don't do this. Because sometimes we have this voice that speaks to us ahead of time. Ahead of time. Because we are a Christian nation, so give me 2 minutes. Let me just step into what the Bible says. Jesus said that I wouldn't leave you comfortless, but I would send you a comforter. And in sending you the comforter, we're talking about customer service, right? And so, if I may, here is the job function, the duties, if we may, because some people don't know their job description. So here's the job description that Jesus put there. That would be some of the roles, if I may. That would be some of the roles of the Holy Spirit. He said, and he shall bring the truth to you. He's the Spirit of truth. With him and by him you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
That's right.
That isn't the only thing. He said he will show you things to come. But you have to listen.
You have to listen.
So how many times do we minimize, or dare I say, ignore the very role and job function of the very person we say that we need so much? Because if he tell you, he said, Kendall, turn left, and I turn right, because I become, and watch this word, and I think this why us as Bahamians don't demonstrate or give customer service as exquisitely, as uniquely as we have been known or recognized to do it. We've become too familiar. We've become too familiar with the people that comes in. Not in a good way on being familiar, because being familiar in customer service is like if you know someone and they become that way with you, they'll tell you, even by customer service, you always make them feel a part of a place. Call them by their last name, Mr. Graham or Mr. This, until they tell you, okay, no, you could call me by first name and everything. And even in that privilege, in having that honor, you should not become so familiar.
Yep, because the service will drop.
So is it then to say that we then build a bridge to say that every area involves service, that we even become so familiar with one less, we could say God, because we think we own God, that us and God are on the same level, that we become so familiar with him till we put him in a box. But let's say we become so familiar to the point that those who we look at as advisors, and all, we become familiar. So we don't, Tamara, you being my mother, I become so familiar with you, I don't even respect you no more. Because when you become so familiar, you don't even respect. Jackie, you're my wife. I become so familiar with you, or we become so familiar with each other till we don't forget to service each other. And I'm going to let you get to this. Back in Atlantis days, when Butch Kirshner was alive, the old core values of Atlantis, and it's something that still stick with me, and we're talking about customer service, he talked about internal and external customers. Our internal customers will be our immediate family. Our external customers will be then those that we see, like in the gas station, to church, where we work, and everything. If you are customer service oriented, there should be a consistency in the way that you serve and the way you give service.
Yeah, I just think for me, how I got away with it is that I just treat everybody the same. I mean, I was in a place where my coworkers will call me if someone is not dressed so well, or someone is kind of slow in talking, or someone doesn't smell so nice, they'll call me. And so for me, it was always a joy. And I got there because probably maybe the bad treatment. Yes, because you remember, customers were my only friends. So for me, I just feel like if you're gonna serve, just serve us unto God, and that covers everybody.
But I could understand that you turn your beauty into something.
Okay, we have a question. Justin is asking, how can we help our elders to reflect and see their own flaws and change for the better? Whoa,
Whoa, that's a powerful question.
that's a powerful one.
Justin. Okay, here's the thing. And you know the elders, they always will say, oh, because the church say, now this way they can pull up the scripture, Justin. Rebuke or chastise not an elder. That's the first thing they'll tell you. But if you care about the person, remember you have to have that department like Jackie, where it's not. And Jackie said it earlier, but we're gonna go back to that place and then bring it to you. This is going to be a part of answering your question. Jackie had to go to that place because persons could have trust her. They knew the type of person that Jackie was. So it is not in what you say, but how you say it. Sometimes it isn't that they don't take the correction. It's how you give the correction. I think the Bible says that a still soft voice turneth away wrath. And then also when you do it, you have to have that rapport with them, meaning that relationship with them. That if you do it and you respect them, you don't do it in the front of others. If you take them away from people, and then you decide to talk to them and say, okay, you know, when you do this or when you say this, you know, this how I feel, or others may feel this way. And so you could soften it by the way you introduce the conversation. And you do it from a place, even with your tone, because sometimes when we speak, our tone could give off that we want to argue, or we perceiving that an argument is being done. And so remember now, we're in a tech savvy world, and even if they're older, I saw some of them still know how to use what we will say electronics. So it's how you say it to them. Even if you type in, they say if you use all of these letters in caps or they bold, that means you're saying something that's very harsh, because even technology has a language. So I would say, whatever you do, do it in love. Say it to them from a place of love, that you care and respect them enough that you would say it and they don't become offended. Listen to me. Anyone who hears the truth, whether young or old, it will affect them some way, somehow.
I want us to just do, Tamara, are you there?
Yes, I am here. But Jackie,
go ahead.
remember the story we talked about the other day, the conversation I overheard. Long story short, the nephew called the uncle to complain about the grandfather. Now, we all know that elderly people, they say stuff whenever they want to say it. And we can't control them, right, Jackie?
Right.
But the uncle kept reminding the nephew of, you have to remember now, that's granddaddy. You may be angry at granddaddy now, but you are going to come to Sunday dinner. Obviously, they have Sunday dinner every Sunday. He said, now, I would agree with you. Granddaddy should not have said what he said when he said it. But I want you to believe granddaddy loves you, and that's why he said it. But whatever was said, Jackie, it was said at the dinner table. Remember me telling you about it?
Yes.
And the nephew was embarrassed by it. So now the nephew wanted the uncle to call granddaddy out and tell him that he shouldn't have said and shouldn't have done that. The uncle had to gently remind him, I can't correct granddaddy. I can't. Because you remember, he's coming from a different generation where he knows that would be totally unacceptable and rude. Right, Kendall?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you going to now correct granddaddy? But he kept reminding the nephew of, I'm not saying you are wrong. I am saying to you that You are expected to come to Sunday dinner, and I need you to come. Because if you don't come to Sunday dinner because you are upset with granddaddy, it's going to be worse by you doing that. So I'm just saying in terms of what you're saying, be careful what you say and how you say it. But sometimes we also have to remember that little dynamic too of, there are elderly. We got to tread lightly. So the caller, yes, sometimes correction is needed, but we have to remember, they're coming from a place of love.
Yes. We have a question here from Kevin Robinson. If someone is afraid that changing themselves would disrupt everything around them, what encouragement would you give based on your experience? Tamara, you want to take that? You want me to read it again? Okay, let's read it again. If someone is afraid that changing themselves would disrupt everything around them, what encouragement would you give based on your experience? Take that.
I would say, make sure you're having a clear picture of the situation. How is it going to disrupt? How is it going to improve? Is it the right time to address the situation? And why would change be not positive? You know what I mean, Jackie? Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't it be a positive thing? Help me with that, Kendall.
That's a deep question. When I mean that's a deep question, because I'm reading it and I'm seeing the person that wrote it, I would say. And the person is at a crossroad within themselves. And what they're doing that when and if, because they want to make this change. Now, like you say, whether the change, and I pray and I'm hoping as I'm reading it, that the change is a positive, good change.
Mm-hmm. It needs to be disruptive.
And yes, if the change is positive and it is good change, the disruption needs to happen. The disruption needs to take place. You change, your environment change. If the change then is not positive and it's going to change everything around you, I would tell you, look at the persons that are involved, that when you make this change, how many persons are going to be impacted by the change that you make. Because many times we make choices and the decisions and the choices and the decisions that are made by us, it impacts and it affects more than us. But we say it is our choice and our decision to make. Yet we don't look at the repercussion from the choice and the decision that we make. If it's negative, it's going to be a far grievous pain. And if it's positive, it's going to be a ripple effect. And it will even encourage others to change. Because there are some persons that are looking up to you, Jackie, you, Tamara, myself. And you know what they're saying? How did you get through what you went through? Even through the pain and the suffering, you're still able to smile. Mm-hmm. You're still able to endure. It's like resilience training, resistance training. And this is where we are. So my thing to you is, what I would say is, evaluate yourself. Do an audit check on yourself. And at that point, see, as afraid as you may be, mm-hmm. Evaluate it and assess whether it's positive or negative, and if it is worth the change. If it is negative, don't do it. This is tell the truth. You don't need to pretty it up. We ain't gonna pretty it up and try to put some fluff on it. Don't do it. If it's positive, it's going to be more beneficial to you, and it's even going to make a greater impact on others.
So it's kind of like the encouragement I would say is that, kind of like what you're saying, and in my words, I'll say, just look at the results. Make a column and say, if I do this, what good will come out of it?
Do an audit.
What bad will come out of it? Yes, so I would say, you know what, just do your checks and balances and just take your time, speak to some people about it, speak to the people that you respect, I wouldn't say your friends if they're in the same basket, if they're thinking the same way you're thinking. Try to speak with people who can give you great advice. And then you have to make your final one. And you know what? Pray about it. I don't know how close you are with God. And so, you know, we always tell people pray, but do they have the relationship, the connection? But, you know, just do your checks and balances and then make that decision. Donnie Allen is asking, what's one leadership lesson you learned the hard way? And how did it shape your approach today?
Yes, it is tell the truth. Which leadership lesson
Listen,
that I learned?
you know, let me
Go ahead.
let me take this a little bit. And this is going to be involving me. This is truth. You know, before I was getting married, I met my husband. My mother met my husband, and she thought he was just too quiet. What's a leadership lesson?
Yeah.
Well, I'll call my mother a leader. And she was saying, Jackie, he's too quiet. And I'm saying, well, if someone is too quiet, how that could be a problem if you want to marry them? You know, like how could that ever be a problem? But I realize now that communication is so important. And so I realize now that it really could be a problem. But it really taught me, like now I got so close to God that I am able to deal with it. Like I appreciate now that we talk when there's important things to say, and I'm still working on it, trying with both sides. And so it really shaped me. It shaped my faith in God. And so that's why I don't think I would say I wish I didn't. Because it really brought me closer to God. Donnie Allen, I hope I answered your question. Justin, I hope you got an answer to your question. But I would say just be patient with the older people and just approach them in a very nice way and let it come from a place of love when you want to correct them. That's what I would say. Tamara, do you have anything to add?
I got a question. Someone texted me a question. She said there's obstacles to self-auditing. How should we prepare ourselves for this instructive criticism?
Powerful. How do you talk to yourself and how well do you take your own advice? And if you're not good on taking constructive criticism, start taking it. Because when you or as you grow, and you will grow, you will come into a place of prominence and a place in and of leadership. How you receive or take constructive criticism is normally sometimes the way you give it. Because when you haven't seen a role model or someone model something, you will feel it's just good to be blunt. The Bible says a soft voice turneth away wrath. Yeah. That my words ought to be with grace, seasoned with salt. That then you would be able to know how to talk to the young and to the old. So I would say, in which tone do you talk to yourself? Now we're going to get a little spiritual. We have 5. I'm going to do this in 2 minutes. The Bible said life and death is in the power of the tongue. Do you condemn yourself more, criticize yourself more, or do you encourage yourself more? Because if you make a mistake and you condemn yourself or criticize yourself, then how do you encourage yourself? And that's going to be a way that's going to tell you how to take constructive criticism. That's a lesson. That's an audit.
Even though it hurts.
Even though it hurts. And that's what it is. We have to be able to take the harsh truth, even about ourselves. And then you can take it and say, okay, I'm going to make this change, and then build on that. Encourage yourself from there and take the necessary steps. Build relationships with someone that can tell you the truth and nurture you in the way of that truth, no matter how hard it is. And that's going to help you build.
Oh, I really want to, Keva, I want to say thank you to you. E-Ray, I want to say thank you. Just want to make sure I said that because it is so important. It is so helpful when we have you call in and ask questions on the show. Because remember, this is not about just the host.
No.
This is about the Bahamas. Tamara, it's your time. So, Tamara,
Sorry about that, Jackie.
Go ahead.
I thought I was speaking. I was thinking, because, everything that we're saying tonight is just so thought provoking that I was looking for the question that was texted me, and she said, should we be careful who is giving us this criticism? And how do we know that they are qualified or should be the person that we're accepting criticism from?
That right there is very important. Some persons, when they talk to you, listen to the tone, not just the words. When you hear where it's coming from, the tone in which they say it, when they say something to you, it has something deeper behind what it is. The words can just be, oh, you this, oh, you that. Now, the tone in which they say it is going to come off different. Now, if you make a mistake, someone could say, okay, you didn't have to do this, or this is the case. Even in the way of speaking, you could have responded this way, you could have done that, and everything else. And if their constructive criticism, or if their criticism comes in the form of constructing you to be stronger in the way you do things or in the way you receive things, that's different. If their tone is coming from a point on always breaking you down but not building you up, be very aware. Because persons could be very critical and always pointing out and telling you something bad and making you feel that, watch this now, they would make you feel that you are the mistake and that you didn't make a mistake. Big difference. Don't never let someone make you feel as if you are a mistake when you made a mistake.
You know what is so important is I know I'd step away for a minute, so I didn't get the question, but your last remark, we have to really know, and I learned this from my friend Reverend Jaderet. What hurt us, or things that make us feel a certain kind of way, is what we accept. So we need to teach our kids that if someone call you ugly, you're only ugly if you think you're ugly. So we really have to protect what we receive for ourselves, because what you receive, if you take it in, you will find that that's what you're going to start giving out. So let's put up our shield. Let's put on our whole armor. That's what it is. Let's put on our whole armor so we protect ourselves from the enemy. And guys, you know what is so important in this last 2 minutes? We really have to tell our children and tell ourselves that we need to keep Christ in the center of our life. Because if we don't do that, you'll find out that people who don't have him as the center will start just saying things from the outside. And in short time, you will see that everything that they're doing and saying that's not really true, it will start bursting through the seams. And everything will just come out and they'll be put to shame. Let's keep Christ at the center. Tomorrow, I know you get something to say in the last minute.
You know, what I wanted to say was to her question in terms of who you're getting this critique from. I think that's a valid question, but I want to say, and I hope I'm clear, your circle. Be careful who you allow in your circle. And if you're getting critiqued by someone, this is someone that you're going to respect. If you're getting financial advice, you're not going to get it from someone that's squandering money, right? If you're getting advice in terms of parenting or critiquing in terms of parenting, you want to get it from someone that you feel has been successful at it. So I would say that is very valid, to be careful who is giving the critique, but also always surround yourself by people you can learn from. And everyone is, if there's 10 things on your list, the one that you need the answer for that one thing, go to that one person. Not one person's going to meet or 10 of your criteria for someone who you are going to respect to give you a self-audit. So you got to go to the right source. And like Jackie always say, where that source is, Jackie,
Oh, Jesus, the center.
go to that source.
That's right. Kevin, thank you so much. I know I didn't see you on Zoom link because I knew you had something else to say. Next week, make sure you tune in and make sure I see you on the Zoom link, Kevin. It's Table of Change. I'm Jacqueline Fernanda Moxie. Tamara Fox Smith.
Tomorrow,
Kendall Lewis.
Thank you very much. See you next week. Table of Change. Remember, pull your chair up and let's start changing.
good night.
Interview or program are not necessarily the views expressed by the ZNS Radio Network and by extension, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.